guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timmy Kemza James. For our new and old subscribers, you're all welcome to today's tutorial where I'm going to be showing you how to make a paper bag short. So this can also go as a night shirt or night wear or just something to sit around the house. So these are all the supplies I'm going to be using: this fabric, elastic, a scissors, a tape, some chalk, a sewing machine, and of course my pattern master. So now I'm going ahead to fold the fabric in half. That is, I'm using my lap measurements divide by 2, and that is how wide I'm folding it in half. Then I'm drawing out this line that you can see. So this line is actually just a 1-inch line, and I'm going to mark the length of my short. So I actually want the length of the short to be 17 inches, but I'm marking 20 because I'm going to be using 3 inches to hem the down, that's the down part, the hem of the short. So I'm also going ahead to mark that 20 inches where my lap measurement is, right? So I'm going to square that out, right? So I apologize for the chalk, is not that visible, but please guys do help me manage that, right? So but if you look carefully, you'd see what I'm doing. So I've gone ahead to mark that. Then on that line is going to be my waistline, right? So I'm coming up by 3 inches from that line to also make another line there. Now these 3 inches I'm going up is going to be the paper bag side. You know how if you have a paper bag, you can sort of fold on one point of the upper side of the paper bag. That is what I'm trying to achieve on this short. So on my waistline now, I'm going to divide I'm going to measure out my crouch line, and my crouch measurement is 12.5. If you don't know how to take crouch measurement, another hack to use for crouch measurement is your hip divide by 4, sometimes minus 1, right? So that's what most people use if you don't know how to take crouch measurements. Or you can just sit on a chair and take your measurement on from your waist to the point where the chair begins, and that's your crouch measurement. So guys, I'll just rule that line, that my crouch measurement out. Then I'm trying to mark out my hip line here. That's from my waist to my hip is 9 inches. So I'm going ahead to mark. Mind you, this is a high-waisted short. So on my waistline, I'm going to mark my hip measurement divide by 4, guys. So whatever my hip is, I'm going to multiply, I'm going to divide that by 4 because I'm doing 1/4 of my body. You remember the fabric is on fold and I'm cutting the front part, right? So that's what I'm going ahead to mark right now, right? So now the next thing is on that crouch line that I drew, I'm going to be dividing my lap measurement, right? On the crouch line, this crouch line, I'm dividing my lap measurement by 2. Now all other measurements are going to be divided by 4 except my lap and my lower lap. But for my waist and my hip, I'm dividing it by 4. Now the lap is by 2 because you know the legs, we are drafting the one side of the leg, is not the 2 legs together, right? So I just went ahead to square out that my hip measurement. On my crouch line, I marked my lap measurement divided by 2. Then I marked my hip measurement as well on that point, right? Then I squared out my hip measurement that began from my waist to my crouch, which I squared out. So I'm going ahead to make a curve using my French curve from my lap measurement to just sort of melt into the line that I squared out. Now on the hem side, I'm going ahead to mark that 3 inches upwards, which I'm going to be using to hem that the hem of my short. Then I'm going ahead to mark my lower lap measurement. You should take your measurement where the hem of your garment is going to be. Do ensure to take that measurement and divide it by 2 as well. Then you connect that crouch curve to the measurement. Now I'm using my pattern master. If you have your hip curve, you can go ahead and use that. So that will be my inner thigh, right? So that's going to be my inner thigh measurement. So I'm going to just go ahead and extend this line on that 3 inches that I cut out. Then that would be it, guys. So I'm going ahead to cut out my front panel, right? So you can see I'm cutting my crouch, I'm cutting that curve nicely, and then I'm folding that side before I cut. Then the fold I'm cutting back. Sorry guys, this point I don't know what happened to my camera around here. Maybe I sort of turned it wrongly, but I'm doing my back measurement, right? So I know you cannot see properly, but what I just did is I brought my front pattern and placed on the back pattern, which I folded in half, right? And on the crouch line, I extended the crouch line and added 2.5 inches on the back crouch, right? Then I added 2 inches sewing allowance on the inner thigh, all round the inner thigh. I added 2 inches sewing allowance. Then I went up by 1 inch on the waist side and I connected it to the front waist on the side seam, and that is it. The side seam is the same, the front and the back is the same. So the only amendment is on the waist side, the crouch line, and the inner thigh, right? Then the butt side, you can see, is not that straight. I just cut out that point nicely to meet the 2.5 inches I extended on the crouch line, right? So I'm just going ahead to cut my sewing allowance on my thigh as well. So that is it about the back. You can also watch my video on how I cut a pant. It's the same method. I'm going to be linking that video in the description box, so do ensure to watch that video if you don't understand what happened here. It's just the same thing with cutting your pants. The difference is this one is shorter because it's a short, right? So that is it. Now let's head over to our machine and sew. Now I'm sewing my front panel together around the crouch line, that's the center front, but I'm not going to sew it all through. Likewise the back, I'm doing the same thing on the back. Then I'm going to go ahead and sew my side panels, right? That's I'm joining the front and the back together on the side panels. I'm using 1/2 inch sewing allowance all round on these panels, guys. So after that, I'm going ahead to sew my inner thigh, right? So you remember that point where I said I didn't sew it all through. So I'm going to sew my inner thigh and close that side up, right? So I'm also using 1/2 inch sewing allowance to sew like so my inner thigh first on one side, then I sew the inner thigh on the other side, right? Then I'm going to grab my center front line, that's the curve that meets the crouch line, to close that opening that I have there, because I initially did not sew that side through, right? If you understand what I'm saying. So that is it. I went ahead to overlock all my raw edges and hemmed the bottom side of my pants. I went ahead to hem it. Then now on the front side here, that's the last step on this pant, I'm going to hem the waist side, but I'm starting with like 1/2 inch inwards. Then that point where I have my 3 inches will be the next side I'm going to be folding over again. So I want to hem it with a very wide seam allowance to give me that sort of paper bag feel, right? So by the time I do that, I'll start to hem. Just look at what I'm doing, and this is a little bit clear here. So you just go ahead and hem that all round, right? But you're not going to finish off hemming. When you get to like 1 inch to where you started hemming, you will stop. That point you're going to use it to pass in your elastic, right? So that's what I'm just going to do now. By the time I hem this one all through, I'm going to come back to hem again, right? After doing this, I will come back and then go up from that seam. I'm going up by, let's say, almost 1/2 inch or 1/2 inch to hem again. Now that will create a like sort of a loop where my elastic is going to pass, right? So that's what I'm doing now. This time around, now I'm just going ahead to double hem, that's with 1/2 inch gap. That's where my elastic is going to pass. So it will create some sort of a fold on the upper side of the pants, and that's what we are going for. Now I'm going to use my safety pin. You can use anything. You can use a loop turner to pass this. You can use just anything to pass it, right? So I'm passing my safety pin. I'm passing my elastic with my safety pin. By the time I'm done passing, I would close the edge of the elastic together like so. Then I'll cut and I'll sew down the seam allowance on my elastic, right? Then I would arrange it and close off the seam, and that will be it about our pants, guys. So if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I have a new video up on the channel. See you in my next video, guys. Bye.